Hey, so welcome. It's Tuesday. Tuesday, we always set our character goals, and we did not have a 6:30 meeting this morning because it's a half day. It's the end of the trimester. There's a lot going on. And so I wanted to make this available to all of you folks who are not in the leadership class, especially. If you are in the class, of course, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And so feel free to be reminded and watch this, especially if you're somebody who hasn't set your goals yet. I know that sometimes during that little window, it's hard to get them down. And so just make sure you have them by today. Next week, we will have the opportunity to share what goals we set, if you did indeed set goals based on this. And I hope you do, because this is important stuff. And we only get a chance once a week to be able to come together and to talk about these things. And so even though we didn't have a meeting, I did want to give you that opportunity. Of course, we're going to be back on next week. And so that'll be a great opportunity for us to get together and talk about these goals, how they went, et cetera. So anyway, I have my shared screen up here. And you can see there's this image that has nothing to do with anything and a quote. And the quote I love. And so those of you who are in the class, that book, The Four Loves, yeah, that title goes right along with our types of love lesson that we did a couple of weeks ago. But the quote says, "Friendship is born at the moment when one man says to another, 'What, you too? I thought that no one but myself.'" And I love that quote. And it makes me think of times in life where I have felt like very alone, times in life where I've felt like maybe people don't understand or that sort of thing. When you find someone who gets it, it's huge. It makes a huge difference. It's a big deal. And I included this image because this is the logo for the current season of this podcast that I listen to. And I've become like involved in like this podcast community. And you can see like I've got the hoodie on today. And you can see one of the buttons has the tally marks. This podcast is rad. It's called Magnified Pod. And the topic is this really niche genre of Christian punk and ska bands from the late 90s and early 2000s. And so I've been listening to it for a while now. And I started getting involved in the community and talking to people. And some of those people have become really good and close friends, even though we live all over the place. And so I brought in this image. And this is a screenshot from when we were on Zoom together a little while ago. And you can see from top to bottom, that's Andrew and Meg and Danny and John and me and Mickey. Andrew and John do the podcast together. They live in the Midwest. Meg, some of you met. She visited last year, and she is in Monterey, California. Danny's in Columbus, Ohio. We're kind of all over the place. But there were more of us on Zoom, but these are the people who stuck around for us to take a screenshot of. And as we continue to grow as a community, get to know each other, et cetera, it's cool because we also become better friends. And as you get to know each other, become friends, et cetera, you find out what you have in common. And yeah, we're all about the same age. We all had these formative experiences connected to music when we were teenagers. And here we are as, 30 somethings, most of us, coming together and talking about these things and talking about things that are not these things, and having a good time. And we're all over the country, which is really cool. I wanted to give that as background. But also one of the reasons I wanted to talk about that background is because that's how I know Meg, and she is one of my best friends in the world. And so I also put on a picture of just us. And this is from when I visited her in California in July. Over winter break, my family, all four of us, my wife and our boys, we're going to go down and we're going to all visit her. And that'll be rad and a good time. But I wanted to talk about her specifically because of some texts that she sent yesterday. And I got permission to share these with you because we know each other really well. We talk a lot. And when you have a close relationship with somebody, there are so many things that like are kind of in-person things. You know, you can give someone a hug, you can give them a high five, you see them in your class, etc. But when you're from a distance, it's a lot of texting and it's a lot of like phone calls and whatever, right? And I hate talking on the phone, but I'm willing to with closer friends. And she texted me yesterday, talking about a hard time she was having. And she connected it to an earlier experience. And so I wanted to read that to you because it's going to go right along with the goals that we're going to set this week. So screenshot. She said, so remember on March 30th, she has this, so two things. She's in grad school and she has this personality quirk where she like remembers very specific dates and years that things happen. And she brings it up whenever she's telling stories. Anyway, she said, remember on March 30th, when I called you crying on the phone because of that horrible experience in grad school? I said, yeah. And she said, well, I'm still calling you crying and venting, which was true. And I'm still here to listen. She said, I'll never forget how you were there for me in that moment so immediately. And you even, though you don't love the phone, you were so good that day. You listened and were empathetic, but also gave me amazing feedback. I went into class so much better. My heart was so relieved. It was a big turning point for me when I realized how much you care / I can trust you, that you had become a safe person. And I said, that means a lot. Thank you so much for telling me. These are the people I hang out with, or at least this is one of the people I hang out with. But that meant a lot to me because a couple things. Number one, I didn't know, like I knew that in that moment, I kind of helped her feel better on her way into class. But what I didn't know was that it was such a formative turning point, is that was something that was really important and significant to her. And number two, the other reason I share that is because I did something that any of you can do, right? She wanted to call, so she texted me and I said, sure, I'm available. And she called and I just listened to her. And I just let her explain what was going on and how she felt and whatever. And some people are external processors and it really helps to be able to just get it out there. And some people are not external processors. And so what that means is in order to share something, they have to really feel safe with somebody in order to do that. And I don't share that because I'm this amazing, perfect example, but I share it because it was a moment where all I had to do was say, yes, I will listen to you, and then actually listen, right? And just that simple act of listening was impactful. It made a difference. And so I brought in a couple of quotes about listening. The first one was the first one I thought of when I was putting together this lesson. The first duty of love is to listen, right? And how can you listen well? Let me start that sentence over. How can you say that you love someone well if you refuse to listen to them, right? Or if they don't listen to you? Then the next one, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. It's that thing where you're not really listening. You're just waiting for your turn to talk, right? And then the third one, sometimes all a person wants is an empathetic ear. All he or she needs is to talk it out. Just offering a listening ear and an understanding heart for his or her suffering can be a big comfort. And Roy T. Bennett uses that word suffering in this quote. And I do think that that's important, right? You need to be there for people in their hardest times. And if you're not capable of doing that, it's a good skill to learn. But it doesn't have to be that big and dramatic, right? Offering a listening ear and an understanding heart is comforting every day. It's comforting when things are going really well, right? To be able to listen and understand and be there for somebody. If something is going really well, they have great news to share with you. You want to be able to listen to them so that you can truly celebrate with them, right? And I bet that would make them feel good for you to celebrate with them. And similarly, when things are hard, right? It can be a comfort to have someone that you know is safe. And I think about how this week that we're having right now, even though there's no school tomorrow, which is awesome, this week we're having right now is a week that is really busy. It's the end of the trimester, getting grades done, all that good stuff, making sure that we're good to go, doing makeup assignments, redos, etc. And then we got new classes starting on Thursday. And so I understand if this is a time where you're really busy and also you are kind of focused on your own self and where you're going, right? But the thing is, everyone in the building feels that way, right? And so for us to be able to put ourselves and our needs aside for a minute, to be able to truly listen well and to understand what other people need and what other people are going through is huge right now. And so that's what I want us to focus on this week. I want us to be able to be there for somebody who either really needs it because they're having a hard time, or somebody who maybe is someone who shares with you a lot, but you don't do a great job of listening to them. Or maybe somebody who gets on your nerves a little bit, but they feel comfortable with you, right? The idea is, how can we truly listen? You know times when you don't listen to people. I have a 7-year-old who has so many words and he's awesome, but there are times when I tune it out, right? And I bet some of you have really little siblings that are that way. I bet some of you have peers who you sit next to in class, and maybe you're going to be in the same class next try. You know you're going to see them, you know they're going to talk to you. And so maybe this is a week where you can be intentional about listening to them well and getting that. So this week, as you write your goals, I want you to make an intentional effort to listen to somebody. And not just to be in the same room when they talk and be, looking at your rectangle, but to be listening intentionally, to be latching on to details that they share with you and be able to follow up, ask questions, empathize. Oh man, that's awesome. Oh man, that sounds really hard. Oh dude, how did you feel about that? Right? I want you to think about who those people are in your life that you know you're going to have an opportunity to listen to this week, even as classes change, even as there's a lot going on with school, even as I'm sure you have a lot going on at home. So do your best, write these goals. My suggestion, since we didn't have a meeting today, is to write these goals and then text them to your group chat with your class office team. Let's make sure that everybody is able to still have that accountability partner, still share those character wins. Because even though we weren't together in the same room this morning, I do think this is really important. And we'll be back in that same room together next week. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you know who to listen to and who you can serve this week in this way. And I'm looking forward to hearing about character successes when we come back together on Tuesday. So enjoy the first few days of the new try. I'll look forward to seeing y'all real soon. Make it a great day. The choice is yours. See ya, folks.